Okay, welcome everybody. So that was the showcase on the Kryptonian frenemies. So let's jump right into a little more in-depth look at them. So we're going to start with Supergirl. So her combat ability, Visionary Phoenix, aesthetically it's very pleasing. It's a beautiful ability. It looks nice. Um, it's a new attack. Everything about it I like visually. Now the attack itself, I don't like it too much because it's very situational. If the ads are not grouped together, if the tank doesn't pull them together, if you're not in a hallway where the ads can't go anywhere, then you can miss half of the damage. Um, Also, the Ring of Fire does induce burning, but there's no damage over time with the burning. So when I tested this, I was fire, so I will get the bonus from them being burning, but I won't get any additional damage from that. So something to take into account if you're choosing this ally for the attack ability. So now we're going to go into her first support ability, which is Argo's Endurance. So lunge attacks grant a might and precision buff and a damage reduction shield. So the damage reduction shield does reduce damage by 50% for the full 15 seconds that it is active. The cooldown for that is 60 seconds, so it's quite a long cooldown, but you know, you're reducing damage to yourself by 50%, which is pretty good. Now the lunge, just by holding down the square button on PlayStation attack, does increase your might, but it doesn't increase it by the stats that they have there. So it's not 8 and 4, it was actually 6 and 3 with all the testing I've done. That's what I got multiple times, so that was the only increase that I got. So it could be beneficial. It just depends if you want to use that ability as one of your support places. Now the next support ability is Solar Charge and Solar Flare. So for Solar Charge, in combat, controller debuff superpowers grant stacks of bonus vitalization. So let's touch on the first part. So I was able to do 13 stacks of Solar Charge. From my base to the first stack was an increase of 5.5% vitalization. Everything after that was 1%. So it's a 1% increase after that. Also, I was never able to get 20 stacks. The most stacks I got was 13. Now if they're counting the stacks as the percentage, if you round up from 5.5 to 6, I still was only able to get 18. So I don't know where the discrepancy lies there, but I wasn't ever able to get to the max stack of 20. Also, now we have to talk about the Solar Flare attack. So the Solar Flare attack is after you use a debuff. Oh, and I did every debuff, any combat power debuff does activate Solar Charge. So now with Solar Flare, when you use a debuff and you use their group weapon attack, then it releases the Solar Flare. So depending on how many stacks, that's how much damage you would do. At max stacks, I was at 798,000 per enemy. So it didn't split. That was the damage. So that's not bad. Are you going to be throwing debuffs to get the stacks up to 20 consistently? Probably not, because you're not going to be throwing a debuff, every second. You're going to throw, your important debuffs, or depending on your arts that you're using. So you may not be able to get this up to max stats consistently to even really use that. Now every debuff does give you a stack, but I don't know if it's something that I would even use a supportability stat on. Now we get into Superboy. So let's jump right into his signature ability, Heat Vision Sweep. Fires heat vision while spinning before releasing an explosion. Cooldown is 30 seconds. Heat vision cone, 15 meters. The cone is 20 degrees. And the heat vision surge is 20 meters. That's where he falls to the ground and an explosion comes around him. Now his combat ability, he is the strongest AoE character in the game. He's number one, well above everyone else. Like, his combat ability is, it's not broken, I won't say that, but he just does so much damage for the time that he's out. So if you're looking for a combat ability, combat ally, this is top tier in my opinion. I would definitely use this one. His AoE damage is number one. His single target damage is not that bad. His single target is at 14. So he's just below the top 10. There's only 33 allies to test. So he's just above average, but I like him. So now let's get into his support abilities. We'll get into Krypto's aid first. Supply drops call down Krypto. Krypto gives you a defense buff for 60 seconds. Krypto also does Super Bark, which does damage. And Krypto will also rally allies that fall in battle, or try to rally allies that fall in battle. Krypto will not rally you. So if you get killed while Krypto is out, he'll just leave. He's not helping anybody else. He'll be done. So you'll have to look for somebody else to rally you. His Super Bark, does about 2.1 million damage for the time that he's out. So you get the supply drop, and you also get the defense buff. The buff was 22%, I believe it was, not 30%. So Krypto's aid is actually pretty good for all the things that it does. It helps revive allies, gives you a defense buff, and it also does damage. So that's a pretty good support ability in my book. Now let's get into Rebel Rage. Getting your health changed 3 times grants stacks of might and precision buff. So you're supposed to get 1% defense, 1% might, and 0.5% of precision per stack, with a stack cap of 5. That's not what I got. I got way less than that when I was doing it. The numbers are on the screen because, let's see, I got 1% defense, 1% might, and 0.6% of precision. So I didn't even get what they, I got a little bit of an increase on the precision at 0.6 instead of 0.5. For me, and it's every time your health gets changed, every time you take damage, every time you heal yourself, so it consistently goes. But I was not able to get up to 5 stacks. It was just 1% for me, no matter how many things. And at the time I was testing as fire. Pages of the Black, self heals, shields, burning determination. To heal myself while getting damaged, I couldn't get my stacks above that 1%. So never went up to the 5%. So I don't know if that's just not working as intended, or I wasn't testing appropriately. But for me, it was just the bare minimum stats. So for me, that's not, Rebel Rage is something that I wouldn't even use at all. I don't think it's worth it. You're not getting enough boost. You get way more boost with any other artifact, or most other allies also. So I would stay away from that one. So now we're getting to General Zod. So we'll start with his combat ability and kneel before Zod. So he is number 2 in damage in single target and number 13 in AoE. So he's in the top 3 single target and just above average in AoE. So his combat ability is pretty good. So we'll start with the support ability Warrior's Resolve. Increase might, defense, dom, resto, and vite by 2% and precision by 1%. So the 2% I did get in defense, might, vite, and resto. But for the precision, it was less than 1% increase. But this is static. As soon as you equip this support ability, you gain these stats instantly to your character. But personally, I wouldn't level up Zod just to use this. His combat ability is better than Warrior's Resolve. Now for Phantom Zone Touch, it's in a controller role. So activating the group power heal ability grants you and your group members 3% might, 1.5% precision, but decreases your vitalization by 1%. So I did get the 2% might increase and I got 1.7% precision increase, which is better than their 1.5, and it was a less than 1% vite loss by using this. Again, there's so many other better controller abilities and support abilities to use that for me personally, I don't think this one is worthwhile, and I wouldn't equip it. So for Zod, his most important thing is his combat ability, but do you really want to invest resources just in this one character for just his combat ability when there are cheaper ones out there that are better? So now we jump into the villain. We jump into Future Lex. So his Brainiac field. His Brainiac field, as far as damage, wasn't too bad. He was number 12 in single target, and he was number 14 in AoE. So he's just hovering just above average, so it's not too bad. And it also reduces the speed of non-bosses. So when there's ads around, and most bosses do, spawn ads now, so it can be helpful using that combat ability. Now we'll jump into first his Exabyte Overdrive. So the Exabyte Overdrive, what it does is it increases Dom, Resto, Vite, and Defense by 15% for 15 seconds anytime your health drops below 50%. So when Pages of the Black drops you to 50%, you'll get that increase. If you're tanking, you'll drop below and you'll get that increase. And anytime you go below the 50%, you will get that increase. But once you go above the 50%, you go back to your base stats. But with that being said, it wasn't a 15% increase. 11% increase to defense, 13 to Resto, 14% to Vite, and 13 to Dom. So has been the what I've been saying the whole time. Is this really worth investing resources in that? Yeah, on paper it sounds good. You get an increase of 15% to your stat. Well, 15% in quotation marks to your stats, but it's only when you're below 50% health. And if you're tanking, because I think most tanks were running this at one point, your health is going to fluctuate, and you don't want to be at 50% or less. You want to be at higher health. So this is not something that I personally run, and this is not something that, well, we'll get into that in a second. This is not something that I personally run for tanking. Now his second support ability, Breakout Trade, increases duration of crowd effect resistance gain from breakout to 40 seconds. Recover 15% power when using a breakout or group breakout. Okay, so there's no visuals on this. There's no way to know that you have that 40 seconds. I believe the breakout 8 seconds or 12 seconds is the time that an actual normal breakout works. So you get resistance for 40 seconds and you recover 15% of your power when using it. Or if you're a controller, when you use a breakout or a group breakout, mainly for tanks. I don't even know why this was included when they did the ally revamp. I don't know why they changed this, because I don't really see any point in time where this is beneficial to the group, to the player, to anything. Yeah, you get a control resistance, but the mechanics of the game don't play out like they maybe intended them to do in the very beginning when they introduced the allies. So for me, this is 100% pointless, 100% waste of any resources at all. For Lex Luthor, if it's me, I wouldn't put any resources into him at all. I don't think it's worthwhile. I don't think none of his support abilities are good enough. There's so many other support abilities that you can use, which we'll talk about in later. But I mean, Constantine's support ability is better than both of these combined. The user trinket and you get a shield, probably one of the strongest shields in the game. So I wouldn't put any resource into Lex Luthor. I'd put him at the bottom of my ally screen. So now we have Krypto. So Krypto is number 4 on his combat ability and number 23 on his AoE in his combat ability. And he's a cheaper ally to level up. So his damage it's quite good on single target and it's quite bad on AoE. But I mean, it's worthwhile because it'll attack the boss. So, for one of the cheaper allies, this is something that I definitely can see using resources for, because you need a combat ally. So I don't think Krypto is a bad choice at all. Now his Go Fetch is really for farmers. If you're going to collect exobytes, that's what Krypto's for. Exabytes were big back in the day. Not so much now. You can get them on the broker for, you can get 999 for a couple 100,000 or less than a million. So you're not going to be doing a lot of farming. But it says it increases your average yield from gathering extra materials by 100%. Well, the increase was 500%. So it's even greater than what they have on there. But that's not what you're using Krypto for. You're using Krypto for a cheap combat ally. I lost my controller. So with all that being said, let's get into how I rank them personally. So for me, I think that my number one is Superboy. When they created this character, his combat ability is top tier. It's been number one when we had 3 or 4 new released allies. So I'm a fan of his combat ability, and his single target is not that bad either. There's better options if you have an armory, but if not, you can't go wrong with that. Also, his support ability, Krypto's Aid, is another top tier ability. You get additional damage every time Krypto comes out. As long as you stay alive, you can rally your friends, your allies, to keep them alive, and you also get that increased defense. So Superboy, in my opinion, he's top tier, not just out of the Kryptonians, he's just top tier, period. So now for number 2, there's 2A and 2B to me. Supergirl to me is 2A, Superman is 2B, because I like her shield better than I like his shield. Yeah, 35% damage reduction is cool, and you also get to help your allies with that 35%. So it can help a raid and potentially save a raid. It just depends, but if you're running in a raid, you have controllers and they're doing their group shield, so you may not need that. Now with Supergirl, you're getting that shield for yourself 50%, so you're alive a lot longer. So that's why I put her above him. And depending on if you can group everything together, you get a better damage combat ability. So that's just how I chose that. Krypto would be number 3, simply because he's a cheaper ally to level up, and also his combat ability is good. If because you need 3 allies, so it's good to have to level that one up. So that's why I put Krypto number 3. Number 4 would be Lex, just because he slows down the enemies with his I'm doing this. This is not scripted. This is how I'm doing this. Yeah, I would put Lex at number 4 above Zod, just simply because I like that he slows down the ads, so that gives people time to recover and get it together. Zod, yeah, he's strong in a single target, and his AoE is not bad, but I prefer that slow down ability of Lex. I find that just to be better. And also, I'm not a fan of either one of their support abilities. The 1%, 2% increase in your stats, and then the 15% in quotation mark increase in your stats by Lex when you're below 50%. I don't like either one of those, because you don't ever want to be at 50% health consistently, or lower than 50% health, should I say, health consistently. And with Zod, it's such a minimal increase to your stats that it's not worthwhile. So that's why I ranked them the way that I did. So this was a longer video. Hope you guys liked it. Hope it was helpful. Hopefully it was enjoyable. A like would be great. Subscribe would be better. I appreciate everybody for watching. Thanks. This video took some time, but I'm going through all the allies, so we'll just keep posting. Have a good one, everybody. Thank you.